All right, welcome back to ABA exam review. In our latest RBT practice exam, we're going to go through the next set of questions together and break them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack and practice exams. As always, when you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Tanya is asked to report the rate of sneezing for one of her students. Which of the following would likely be in Tanya's report? So we're looking at Tanya, and what is Tanya needing to do? She needs to report the rate of sneezing. So that is our measurement. This is a measurement question. And identifying what measurement you're using is obviously very important because rate is going to tell us a lot. We're looking for some sort of frequency per time measure because rate is just frequency over time, and specifically in regards to sneezing. So which of the following is Tanya going to report? A, the student was sick 3 times last week. Now, sickness might have something to do with the sneezing, might be related, might not be. But Tanya was not asked to report sickness. She's reporting and measuring sneezing. So A is out. B, the student sneezed 5 times per class last week. All right, so we need rate. So we have our frequency. Student sneezed 5 times, and we have our time per class. So B looks like a pretty good rate. We don't stop there. Let's read all of our answer choices. C, the student sneezed 10 times. What are we missing with C? Well, we're missing the time component. We have frequency, but for rate, we need frequency over time. So C is out. And then D, the student sneezing lasted on average 7 seconds. What are we measuring here? Well, first we're measuring an average, but we're measuring an average duration. The 7 seconds is our duration. So the only answer where we are reporting, or Tanya is reporting rate, is going to be B. The student sneezed 5 times per class last week. Every time you eat ice cream, you get a terrible headache shortly after you're finished. You'll then stop eating ice cream for a few weeks, but eventually you always buy another pint of ice cream to eat, even though it will still give you headaches. What is the likely explanation for this behavior? This is a consequence question, but a little more difficult. It's a little more abstract. So we're looking for the explanation for this behavior. Now, what behavior? Well, you eat ice cream and it gives you a terrible headache, which of course you don't want. So what happens is you get punished. You stop eating the ice cream for a few weeks, but eventually you always buy another pint of ice cream to eat, even though you know it's going to give you headaches. Now, why would you possibly do that? You're getting punished, right? You eat the ice cream, you get a terrible headache, so you stop eating ice cream for a few weeks. You say, I'm done eating ice cream, no more. However, a few weeks later, there you are, buying another pint of ice cream. How can we explain this? A, you're being negatively reinforced for eating the ice cream. Well, what is happening to your behavior? You're not eating the ice cream. You are being punished because you stop eating the ice cream for a few weeks. Now, there's potentially the taste of the ice cream, okay? But what we know from the information is you're done eating the ice cream. So you've been punished by the headache. So you're not being negatively reinforced. If anything, you're being positively punished. So B, you're being negatively punished is also wrong. What is being added is the headache. This is positive punishment. When you don't eat the ice cream, you're avoiding the headache. However, the issue is you're being punished. We don't have any replacement behavior, it doesn't seem. We don't have any reinforcement, it doesn't seem. And so the problem is punishment effects are not permanent. That's the big issue with punishment and why punishment is part of a treatment package. We don't just punish and leave it at that. Because if you just punish a behavior and you don't replace it with anything, you don't reinforce anything, this is what happens. Eventually, the punishment effects are not permanent and you're going to go back to your old ways. And then D, you are resisting punishment. Well, no, because punishment was effective at first. So punishment typically is effective at first, and then the effects wane. And if punishment stops, punishment effects are not permanent. So what is the likely explanation? C, punishment effects are not permanent. If you are assisting on an assessment as a behavior technician where you are intentionally reinforcing a problem behavior in order to identify a function, you are likely doing what type of assessment? All right, let's think about this. What type of assessment are we talking about here. You are assisting as a technician, and you are intentionally reinforcing a problem behavior to find out a function. Now, why would you ever intentionally reinforce a problem behavior? Well, when we do functional analyses, that is essentially what we're doing. Since a functional analyses is the best way to identify a function, the best way to do that is to figure out, well, what's the consequence that's maintaining this behavior? And we do that by deliberately reinforcing the problem. So in this case, that's what you're doing. So what type of assessment are we talking about? A, an indirect assessment. Well, it's not an indirect assessment because you are dealing directly with the behavior and the client. So we can immediately rule out and eliminate indirect assessment. What about B, event recording? Well, event recording is essentially just frequency recording because we're just marking down each time something happens. We're not manipulating anything with event recording. Here, we are manipulating something, or we're manipulating the consequence. Same with C, ABC recording, antecedent behavior consequence recording. You're marking down the antecedents, you're marking down the consequences, and you aren't necessarily manipulating anything yet. However, with D, a functional analysis, let's say we're looking at an escape maintain behavior. When that individual attempts to escape, we're going to allow them to escape because we want to identify the function. Now, functional analyses are the highest level type of assessment. You might assist on them. You don't need to know a lot about them, but understand with this type of analyses, we are manipulating antecedents and consequences, including reinforcement. An intern did not show up for a weekly meeting with their supervisors. The intern did not let them know ahead of time and did not give a reason why. The supervisor sent the intern an email requesting that they give notice ahead of time when missing a meeting. What will be the effect of this email? So be careful here. We always talk about with consequences, we have to know how future behavior changes. And sometimes you'll have answers where we don't know the future behavior, and you've got to make your best guess at a consequence. And sometimes you'll have questions like this. So in this case, you have an intern not showing up for a weekly meeting with the supervisors, didn't let them know ahead of time, didn't give a reason why. Okay. So as a consequence, the supervisors sent the email requesting they give notice ahead of time of missing a meeting. Now, how is that going to affect this intern's behavior? Well, we don't know. We have no idea how that email changed or didn't change that intern's behavior. So what can we say about the effect of this email? A, reinforcement. Well, we don't know. Same with punishment and same with extinction. And that's the thing about consequences. Consequences, we have to look at future behavior to determine what type of consequence and what effect that consequence had. Since we don't know, we cannot determine from this information. Amber is hoping to hand out Christmas presents to her younger cousins as well as her nieces and nephews. Amber's brother slides the presents closer to Amber that he wants her to hand out next. Amber grabs these presents and distributes them to the right person. What type of prompt is the brother using? So we have a prompting question, and we're looking at the brother. So Amber is handing out Christmas presents. Amber's brother does what? He slides the presents closer to Amber that he wants to hand out next, and Amber, as a result, grabs those presents and distributes them. So what is the prompt here? The prompt is Amber's brother sliding the presents closer. If we had the present as the antecedent, the prompt would be sliding the presents closer. The response would be Amber grabbing those presents. So sliding the presents closer would be what? Well, we're acting on the stimulus here, right? So it's going to be a stimulus prompt. Now, is it a movement prompt? So be careful about movement versus positional. A movement prompt is just another way to say a gesture prompt, where we're making body movements to indicate what we want. Movement and gesture are interchangeable. Positional is what we're talking about here. Positional is when we act on the stimulus and move the stimulus in order to evoke a response we want. And that's what the brother is doing here. He's doing a positional prompt. It's not a response prompt. Response prompts are like modeling and physical prompts that act directly on the response. Here we're manipulating the antecedent stimulus, and it isn't modeling because the brother is not modeling what he wants to see. He's simply manipulating stimulus. So what type of prompt is he using? Well, he's using a B positional prompt. I've taught my toddler to throw a ball whenever she is holding a ball in her hands. I now want her to drop the ball instead of throw it so that she can kick the ball. What am I trying to teach in this scenario? All right, let's think about this. What are you trying to teach here? Toddler has been taught to throw a ball when she is holding the ball. Okay. Now we want her to drop the ball instead of throw it so that she can kick it. So instead of throwing the ball when holding it, she's going to drop it. So are we talking about a different stimulus here or a different response? We're talking about a different response. Instead of throwing it, we need to drop it. So A, discrimination, is not going to fit what we need because discrimination training is when we teach somebody to identify between two or more stimuli. So red versus blue versus green versus yellow is discrimination between colors. The stimuli aren't changing here. She's holding the ball. We need her to engage in a different response. We're not teaching functional communication. There's no communication training happening here. What we're teaching is response differentiation. The difference between differentiation and discrimination is with differentiation, we're focused on a different response. Instead of throwing it, you need to drop it. That is response differentiation. Discrimination has to do with the stimuli. Remember that. And then expressive language, well, we're not teaching the toddler to communicate expressively, so that is out. What you're trying to teach is differentiation. A skill acquisition plan is written that includes several steps that the behavior technician must follow each time the plan is implemented. One step involves an intensive procedure of taking trash to a dumpster that is half a mile away. The technician will often skip this step and continue on to the next step while providing service. What could be said about the technician's treatment? Okay, this is kind of a learning question because you're going to hear these words. And so what could be said about the technician's treatment? Well, we know this plan includes steps that the behavior technician must follow each time, of course. One step involves an intensive procedure of taking trash to a dumpster that is half a mile away. Now, the technician skips that step often. For what reason? We're not sure why. It could be too complicated, too much effort. We don't know. But the point is, they skip that step that is in the plan. And so what the technician is doing is they're not implementing the plan correctly. So what do we call it when the plan is not implemented as written or it's not implemented correctly? What can we say about it? A, it lacks integrity. Can we say it lacks integrity? Absolutely, right? Treatment integrity means we're following the plan as written. Same as B, lacks fidelity. You might hear procedural fidelity, treatment integrity. All those phrases just mean we're following the plan as written. Now, C is a little more high level, but it's okay. Observer drift is when we start measuring and observing the wrong thing. We're not doing that here. This technician is just not following the treatment plan as written. So the treatment is lacking integrity, is lacking fidelity, is lacking both A and B. That's a teaching question because you're going to hear the words integrity and fidelity, so I want you to be aware. But don't get too caught up on this question. Learn from it. Let's move on. All right, check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. Please subscribe if you haven't already. As always, let us know when you pass. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.